Hi, everyone. This is John Gerardi with Right to Life of Central California, bringing you another, really the second to last in our series of 40 videos for 40 Days for Life. 40 Days for Life is the international campaign of prayer and presence outside abortion clinics throughout the country and throughout the world. If you want to learn more about our efforts throughout the year to engage in sidewalk advocacy outside of Planned Parenthood, please do get in touch with us at 559-229-2229. Yes, we will be continuing to do our outreach work outside of 40 days. In fact, we do this outreach work all year round. So if you want to come out with us and volunteer, please do get in touch with us. You can work with us on schedules and when we come out there, and if you want to learn more about sidewalk advocacy. Today on the show, for the second to last day, I want to talk about something maybe a little controversial, but it's a thing that sort of nags at my mind. Over the last year, especially since the death of George Floyd, all of us in the United States of America have been presented with a lot of very contentious racial topics within our politics and public policy. You see certain best-selling works such as How to Be an Anti-Racist, which was written by Ibram Kendi, about different kinds of attitudes towards racial politics. These things are very hotly disputed in presidential debates. Different notions of racial equality versus racial equity, whether there should be affirmative action-esque policies in favor of African Americans, in favor of Latin Americans, rather than simply equality of opportunity for people. We've heard serious calls from our state legislature, even for policies such as reparations for slavery. A greater consciousness and awareness of historical practices that have disadvantaged African Americans. For example, the redlining of various American cities that happened in the 1940s when federally backed home loans were only offered to African American families within certain regions of American cities. In fact, the reason why in the city of Fresno, a disproportionate percentage of African Americans live in Southwest Fresno is because that was the only place where they were able to get home loans. Lenders in Fresno in the 1940s were basically engaged in the sort of racist practice of not letting African Americans get homes in North Fresno. With all this being said, there's much greater sensitivity to people who say things that are viewed as being coded racist language. That's the degree of sensitivity. Several people have gotten in trouble for using the word thug. A lot of people in sports media, for example, have gotten in trouble for using that term in reference to an African-American basketball player who perhaps engages in a lot of rough fouls, that's a kind of coded language that has a kind of racial cast to it. And people are getting much more sensitive to the use of terms, terminologies. We see the Washington professional football team cast aside its historic Redskins name. People are much more sensitive to perceived racism and to things that are racially insensitive. And I'm not here to say that all of those things are bad. I don't think if there are things that are genuinely hurtful or offensive to our African American brothers and sisters or to Latin Americans or to anybody, we should certainly try our best to be charitable and kind and loving to absolutely everybody, no matter whom we encounter. But I see a pretty gaping hole in and much of this is coming from the American left, a pretty gaping hole, though, in this extreme racial sensitivity on the part of the American left. And it's a very convenient hole. It has to do with the topic of abortion. If you look at where the main abortion clinic in the city of Fresno is, it is in a heavily minority populated area on Fulton Street in South Fresno. If you look at the abortion clinics in many, many, many American cities, they are in heavily populated African American districts. If you look at the percentages of the skin color of the women who get abortions, the racial, ethnic, demographic backgrounds of the women who get abortions, African American women are getting abortions at much higher disproportionate rates than white women. And you see lazy comments from pro-choice activists saying that African American women need abortion, that abortion care is necessary. Access to abortion is necessary. It's needed in African American communities. Without stopping or pausing to think of, first of all, the great eugenic history that underlies Planned Parenthood itself, where Margaret Sanger was a pretty open racist, spoke for a women's gathering of the Ku Klux Klan, was very open about her desire to make sure that African Americans and certain other ethnic groups she didn't like had fewer kids. But also the notion that we are pushing African Americans to abort their children, to decrease their own, to lower their own population, and that there's never a consideration on the part of the American left that there's anything racially problematic about encouraging abortion within African American communities. And again, I'm not saying this as someone who is rejecting, a desire for greater racial sensitivity or racial awareness or attempts to reform police departments to make them more just. I'm not saying any of that. I want a society where everyone has equality and that we can live in a country with great racial harmony and unity. And yet, it seems that many of the people on the left who say that they advocate for this are perfectly fine with 1 out of every 4 African American children being killed in the womb. And look, I know from some people who will hear this video, they'll say, who are you as a white guy to express this concern? Well, you can shoot the messenger all you want. I guess the real question is what I'm saying right or wrong? So you decide that on your own. For Right to Life of Central California, I'm John Gerardi.